My name is Elena S. Blair, and I am a lifestyle, family, and newborn photographer and a boutique school photographer based out of Seattle, Washington, and you are listening to the Workflow Photography Podcast.
John, so great to see you again and to talk with you again. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So it's been a while since we've seen each other.
Has it been a full year at this point? It's been a while.
Well, no, I guess not, because the last time I saw you was WPPI. So
yeah,
we're getting there. We're getting there, but yeah. But still, it's all good. It's all good. Always happy to see your smiling face. So let's dive right into this. The first question I asked every guest is, what is one thing you do for the photographic process behind the camera that saves you time?
Oh my goodness. I think something I've gotten into recently is really visualizing what specific photos I want to get throughout a wedding day specifically. And this is part of my whole mentality of having a very set way that I approach my weddings. And this way I don't become stressed because I have like this foundation of like, I know I'm always going to do this. And then if things change, you know, a day's late, or the things that will typically happen on a wedding day, if that happens, I'm not as stressed because I already alleviated the majority of the stress because I have such a set like approach. And this is one thing, and I feel like a lot of photographers deal with it. I personally still deal with it myself, is when you get done with the wedding day and you feel like you didn't take enough photos, even though we all know we just took like 3,000 photos, but for whatever reason you come home and you're like, did I do this? Did I get enough? But per your question, having these set, like if I don't get, you know, solos of the couple, if I don't get clearly like the first clip, there's certain shots that if I have all of those, I feel like I've gotten enough. So even if I might feel like I didn't get enough, I can like tell myself like, okay, you're good. You got this, that, and the other, and it's okay. So that's one of the main things I kind of do.
I often define when somebody says to me, what's the difference between a novice and a professional photographer? My go-to answer, which I felt this way for years, is, and this is probably I started thinking this way when it clicked for me personally. To me, what defines a professional photographer of any genre of photography is that when a stressor occurs, whatever it might be, nobody knows but you. When you can just keep going and not make it known that, oh shoot, my camera is completely dead and now I need to, nobody knows. And I think that goes back to what you just said, where, you know, you've got it so ingrained of how the wedding day goes from your side of things that if something comes up that the parents want something, or, you know, oh no, the cake is ruined, whatever it might be, goodness. You know, that your personal stresses are gone, so you could help deal with whatever is going on. Or if it's something on your own side where there's a failure, or like, oh no, I forgot to charge this one battery and that was my last battery, whatever it might be, you're good to go, right?
I always love the like photographer keywords or something like that, where you're like, oh yeah, let me just take one of those again, just in case, you know, or really like your camera's stalled and you're like, oh god, I'm just gonna take one more, just 1 second.
Yeah, so I do a lot of proposal photos, and the buffer filling up is the oh my god, that is the most stressful. But that's why it's like you got to have two bodies on you for proposals. Anything that you know you can't replicate naturally again, you got to have that second body, or you got to have the higher end, bigger camera, unfortunately, that has the much, you know, twice as large buffer, which I don't want to have to carry. So
my worst story for a proposal, just to rant for a bit, is it was early on in my career, and my camera wasn't really good with low light focusing. And the couple wanted to do the proposal at like 8 at night. So it was like the very edge of darkness. Yeah. And, you know, groom gets down on his knee and the camera is just like, and I'm like, no. I missed the whole actual proposal. Luckily, the couple was okay with it, but
yeah. So my current go-to for my camera bodies for proposals now, and I get a lot that are like sunset, right?
Yeah.
And my go-to now is the main body is the Z7 II, just because I want that higher resolution.
Yeah.
And then the second body I have is the Nikon ZF. But when the sun goes down, the ZF is the rock star. It can handle that so much better than the Z7 II. Not only focus, but just low light in general. So I totally feel your pain, even modern day. it's a struggle. So when people think, oh, it's just a proposal, no, it's stressful. It's stressful.
yeah.
So, all right, let's talk business for a bit. You've got your hand in multiple businesses, and of course, one of them being your wedding photography, one of them being speaking and educating, one of them being your YouTube channel. I mean, you're doing a lot, and it's fantastic. I love watching everything you got going on. What is one thing you do in your business that saves you time or money?
My goodness. Right now, the biggest focus for me is automations overall, which both saves time and money. And that's in actually every place. And funny enough, I'm actually not the best in the world. I'm not a very good at systems guy, which is why automations help me so much more.
Yeah.
Because I'm just the worst. Like, I forget things take too long. But if I have automated systems in the background, at least that's like keeping it moving for me. Yeah. Automation's everywhere.
So what is one thing like on the business side that's automated? Is it like CRM stuff, or is it nurturing stuff after the fact, after a wedding, or anything? Like what is one thing that you've got in place in those automations?
Oh my goodness. One thing, there's too many to name. I think nurturing in itself is kind of one of the biggest parts. Like, so I use Honeybook for my CRM, and my email automations help me a lot, not only for my couples, but for myself, because there'll be certain times where certain emails will go out that remind me of a thing that I need to go ahead and do. So if it's like an email that goes out that's like, hey, let's start planning your engagement session, then I'm like, okay, great. I know I need to go ahead and plan the engagement session with this couple, versus booking the couple and then like forgetting about it or something.
Right.
So that's big for me. And that goes all the way up until the wedding and after the wedding as well. And that's kind of like the first part. I'm just going to, that's like the first part. The second big automations for me is the editing side of stuff. So using something like Imagen.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
And then after that is something like Pick Time and how they have their marketing automations. Yeah. Because I'm really bad at sending out marketing type stuff as well.
Yeah. They're, by the way, just because you brought up Pick Time, their new AI features for like the wedding guests to find their photos or the vendor stuff. That is just brilliant. I love that. I love it. Now, you brought up editing, okay? We're going to get to Imagen down the road, but I'm curious. Even if it's now but without Imagen or pre-Imagen, what is one thing you do for editing that saves you time?
Well, early on, I developed my own like preset that helped me with saving time. And another thing I do, it saves time, but on the same end, it kind of doesn't, because it takes a little bit to set up. I talk about this all the time. I like to break my wedding day down into like sections of the day. So, like getting ready and ceremony and so on and so forth. And I put those in like smart folders in Lightroom, and I edit from those folders. And the reason I do that is more so for my own mental health, is like if I sit down for 2 hours and say I get done with 2 or 3 sections, it becomes like a small win for me, rather than feeling like I have, 1,500 photos to edit and being like, oh, so many photos. Like I can sit down and go, I finished 3 sections today. Great job. And then go on with the rest of my life and then come back and finish more. So it takes a little extra time to set up, but it saves me overall time, I feel like. Because it makes me more motivated, not looking at a whole bunch of photos.
You ever wish that there was even more granular control in smart collections in Lightroom? Like you could get pretty fine tuned with like your ands and ors for smart collections, but I feel at times there could be
it's kind of
even more granular, right?
It's very like straightforward.
Yeah. So like, for example, let's say you're editing with Imagen, right? And you don't have Imagen's crop turned on, but you have Imagen doing everything else for you. And like, you can have a smart collection, hypothetically, if there was this like really granular control that said edited, but not cropped. And now it's showing you only your photos from this, day that have not been cropped yet. So then you can go through and be like, okay, I need to crop this. I don't need to crop this. And right. So just like thinking outside the box, like I feel like there's a lot of potential there that Adobe could, help with.
Yeah, no, I agree. Cause it's very straight. It's just kind of like, is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is it that? Great. Yeah. Smart. Yeah. It's not that smart.
It's smarter than a regular collection, but it's not super smart. Yeah. Lot of potential there. Okay, so you've photographed a wedding. You've been working on it. You've been editing it. Now it's like wedding's done. You're going through the photos. What is one thing you do after a session, after a wedding, now that increases business?
That would definitely be the pick time sides of things I was talking about earlier with the marketing. Yep. One thing I also got to get better at, so it's like 3 stages. So I usually blog the wedding. That's helping out with the SEO on my website. So I'm usually titling the blog with like, the name of the venue and stuff like that. Sending photos out to the vendors is one thing I always try to do. It's much nicer when you get those planners who like will make you a list of like, here's all the vendors. So then I can just quickly, because when I don't get that, it's the worst. Because you're like, who was I even working with? And you got to go find them. So sending stuff to the vendors. And then something I need to get better at is trying to make video content or like reels. What I need to start doing more of is getting my second photographer or someone to just take some short clips of me at the wedding that I could then repurpose with a reel. And you're talking those simple reels where it's like showing me in a video, maybe 2 video clips and then photos. And that's it. Like, that's one thing I want to start doing more of. Like if I'm in a perfect world, those are the 3 things I would be doing. Blog posting, sending to vendors, making a couple of reels.
There's a
couple Instagram posts.
Yeah. In a previous episode, we had Angela Shea on from Social Templates Co. talking about this exact thing. And really all it really does is come down to having your second shooter or an assistant use their phone and just, it doesn't have to be super high quality from a mirrorless. It can literally just be, the good camera on your phone that they get this BTS content of you that you can then use Social Templates Co. to just quickly knock out a reel with minimal effort, right? Yeah, it's definitely a good area to work on for sure. When going back to the pick time thing and sharing the gallery with your clients, with the vendors, are you, for the client side, are you doing a gallery reveal session, like a Zoom call or a Google Meet call or something like that, or are you just sending off the gallery?
I usually just send it, but I would like to do something a little bit more fun. Because, a reveal would be awesome. Because usually I do, like my preview beforehand. Just like 10 to 20-ish photos. And then, I'm normally just emailing them. I'm like, here's your thing. A Zoom call would be awesome, though. That's actually a great idea.
And are you using PickTime's built-in features where it's like, your gallery is about to expire. Here's an extra discount before the gallery expires? Nice. And how does that work out?
I turn all that stuff on. That stuff, that's again, those are things that I would probably never do on my own.
Right.
If I didn't have the automation, I just wouldn't. And I can remember when I first started using PickTime, I was like, this is so awesome. And I turn on like the early bird, which is like, you'll get a discount up front if you go ahead and buy something. And then I turn on your gallery's expiring, and I turn on the anniversary gift card. And stuff like that, and it's always great because it just goes out, and it'll go out to everyone in it too. So the thing to do is to get your couples to invite more people to the gallery. What actually what I'm thinking about trying to do now more often. So HoneyBook and PicTime partnered up, and they have an integration now. And so when you get your new HoneyBook workspace, it automatically makes the PicTime gallery, which means that gallery already has a link. What I should start doing is making like a QR code or something that I can like share around at the wedding. Be like, oh, do you want your reception photos?
Yeah.
And they can just sign up in there, leave their email. Because then now...
Yeah, just make a beautiful sign that you just put on a table at every wedding that they can say, to find yourself from this wedding, here's the QR code.
Exactly. These are all... See, this is a... Let's help John on his workflow session.
That's exactly
because he knows what to do. He just doesn't do it.
So we're about to lighten up with my favorite part of the episode. But then once we're done with this, what next part? My next question is probably gonna be an eye opener for you. It typically is when people start really thinking about the question.
Yeah.
But let's go to the light one. This is my favorite part because I'm about to ask you a question that I have no idea what it's going to be because you're picking the question. So pick a color, any color.
Orange.
All
Is
right.
that orange? Yeah. Yellow?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So here's a funny thing. In the past few episodes, I feel like I picked the same question multiple times. I am horrible at shuffling decks. So I actually bought an automatic card shuffler, and I've been
nice.
using it. So these are shuffled legit by machine. Okay, I'm going to thumb through this. You tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay. My next question to you, which you just picked, by the way, is... Oh, man, this is totally on topic. That's so funny. Name something on your to-do list that never gets done.
Oh, my God.
That's totally on topic. That's so funny.
Everything? I know. I don't... What most of my worst to-dos, it's like I call them the lower hanging fruit type of things where like you could go ahead and just do it. Right. But you have other things that are more important. It's like small stuff like cleaning up my desk and stuff. Like right now, it looks nice and clean, but there's like a corner in front of me where I just pushed everything out of the, like, I just pushed everything over here.
You and I are so similar in so many ways. I think I've said this in the past whenever we're together, but I've got the same corner.
Like, oh, time to film.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. It looks good. Hey, hello.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny.
That's usually, and what's funny is that like, it's also too, it's not super messy. So like my room is clean. I just need to pick up the stuff. So when I finally do it, you're like, wow. And it lasts for half a day and it's back to where it is again. So
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I had two, I don't think you can see it from your point of, from what you're seeing right now in frame, or maybe you can. Up here on this shelf, I have a bunch of Lego cameras and Lego foliage that I've put together and stuff. And for two of the flower piece sets were in boxes in my corner for a while. I'm like, last week, the kids were home from school because like school just started Thursday and Friday last week. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? I need like a breather. So I put together both sets. It's, like you get into that meditation mode of just build Legos. And I cleared off my desk and then I found an orchid and I bought it. And so now I have another box of Lego here to put together. It never ends. Okay. This is where you're going to dig deep here and you're going to start thinking of things that you're never really thought of like this before, and it might unlock some areas where you might feel like you're missing some spots. I want you to look at your photography business now. Let's skip the rest for now. Just focus on the photography. And if you can look at your photography business from a 30,000-foot view down, if you can share an outline breakdown of your workflow from lead to delivery.
Oh my goodness. I guess everything starts on my website. Mm-hmm. And then once they go through everything and fill out the form, they're moved into HoneyBook. From there, I have automations that will automatically send out like a first touch email. It's kind of like, hey, this is what's happening next. Schedule a meeting with me. They schedule a meeting. Then we meet on Zoom. We usually chat about everything. And then at that point, I send over like the full proposal. They like the proposal. They sign it. And then an automatic email goes out after signing that's like, yay, we're working together. Here's what the next steps look like. Boom, 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 boom. Great. If they have an engagement session, like a week or so later, that email comes out. Yay, time to plan your engagement. And again, that lets me know, great, let me plan the engagement with them. That also sends out a link to my website that's like engagement tips. And that page has like pictures of like, you can dress like this and don't do this and so on and so forth. Do that. Engagement session. Honeybook Pick Time makes that you have your engagement session there. And then do that. Edit those photos. That's Imagen real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Engagement session. Great. Then a little bit after that, we have an email that goes out that's like, fill out this form so I can know more about your day and I can write a timeline. I think photographers should always write their timelines. It's huge. They give me information. From that, I write a timeline. They share the timeline with the planner. If there's any like huge differences, we like fix those up and everything. Another email goes out that's like, hey, I need a shot list. Shot list is less of tell me exactly what photos you want and more of like, tell me what's most important and things that I won't know. Like we're changing our shoes later in the day, or my grandmother signed this very special part of my dress. Like I wouldn't know that. So that's what I want on the shot list. And also the family list, very, very detailed, like every person together for that. They give me that. Great. We meet one more time for the wedding day, previews, editing. I still cull by hand, so I cull everything real quick, run it through Imagen, edit it, delivered, and then another email goes out. They're like, yay. At that point, I start building the album. So I'm like, hey, pick 35 of your favorite photos, put them in the album, take that into Smart Albums. Here goes more automation because Smart Albums has like an auto build. So I just take the photos they chose and go boop, and the whole thing is done.
Yeah.
Send it to them. How's it look? Yeah, we like it. Great. Print it out with Red Tree Albums. Get it shipped off. I ship directly to my couples. I don't have to get it first because Red Tree Albums is awesome. And at that point, we're at the end. There's like a last, like, great, we did everything email. And then there's also like a happy anniversary email that's part of the automation. And at that point, we go back to what we were talking about. Then I try and blog some stuff. I post on Instagram. I don't do reels yet, but I need to do more. And then I back everything up again because it was already backed up first. Like the RAWs were backed up, and now I back up the JPEGs because I keep those the longest. The RAWs eventually get deleted at some point because they're huge. and that's the workflow from start to finish with my couples and the photography side.
About how long is it typically for you from the day of the wedding to deliver the gallery, deliver the have the album designed and shipped? Like, what's the time frame typically for you?
Oh goodness, couples are generally booking about a year in advance ish. Mm-hmm. So you have that year, and then I quote 4 to 8 weeks for photos. Mm-hmm. It normally takes like 4. 8 is like safety zone for me. I don't like getting past 4 weeks. I need a better album process because some of my couples take forever with the album. Mm. But generally, with the perfect couple, the album's getting done maybe a month or 2 after the photos are delivered. So yeah, let's say 1 month, so 2 months added. So yeah, like a year in 2 or 3 months.
Have you considered doing outsourced album sales, which would include the design, and it's basically like doing an in-person album sales call, except you're outsourcing it to a company that's their job?
I never thought about that, but I just heard someone talking about that, and I was like,
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of my couples are missing out on albums. And I'm like, I include it in my package, and some couples will literally just not do it. And I'll have to be like, hey,
yeah,
hey, hey, and they just don't. And I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I guess I'll hear from you at some point. Like,
Yeah.
you're supposed to have an album.
Right. So doing proposals, I don't need to sell albums, but if I was doing weddings to the point where I needed to sell albums, I'm not a sales person, right? So I don't feel comfortable even doing an IPS meeting specifically for album design and stuff. But a company like that would actually do the sales and potentially get, increase your profits, your revenue for the job too. So yeah, there's a handful of them. There's probably a ton, but there's a handful that I know work within the U.S. So it might be something to to consider, which again would like get hands off on it in a way.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard, they work so well within your brand that it's like having them as an employee without having them as an employee.
Nice.
So let's talk AI for a minute now.
Mm-hmm.
You're using AI for sure in your editing.
Yeah.
Are you using like Photoshop to do some AI removals and things like that at this point?
Not Photoshop, but I've been using ePhoto recently.
Okay.
For some removal type stuff. And I mean,
Okay.
Lightroom also has the AI removal, and it's like 70% as good as Photoshop. So like Photoshop removal is just if it's like drastic. So I do use it. It's just like minimal.
So what does the future of AI in photography look like to you?
Hopefully. it's mainly assistance, because I've recently played around with things like Midjourney and whatever other ones that generate stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ridiculous how good it looks. But I would hope, especially for weddings, that it never gets to a point where consumers are like, oh, well, we can just take a couple of photos on our phone and then we'll run some other through AI and we can get those like shots that you would want to put on the wall. But it's like, but then it's not even real,
Right.
So mainly assistant type AI. And that's even what you're seeing with my whole workflow is like, Imagen's doing all the editing for me, and then I go back and retouch if needed in Lightroom or Photoshop if I need to remove anything from the background. And then what I actually do, so I don't sharpen or add grain to my photos in Lightroom. So when I export, I bring them into Evoto, and Evoto's adding sharpening and grain on the JPEG stage, which for some reason I feel like looks better than doing it inside of Lightroom. And it also is doing like retouching stuff, and so I'll let it do that, and that's kind of my process. It's pretty much heavy AI at this point.
Yeah. Plus there's AI throughout the non-editing side. You've got AI in there between PicTime. Honeybook even has some AI, et cetera. So yeah, I hope that AI as an assistant continues to grow, and not so much the replacement and the generative end, right? So I agree. You are still selling your Lightroom presets, or are those discontinued, or
I am.
The ones that you created? You still sell them?
Still selling them. They're out there. People find them sometimes.
So John has his, for everybody listening, John has his Lightroom presets. They are available for sale. He will get me the link so I can make sure that I include that in the show notes. But if you don't know, listeners, John's editing style is also within the Imagen app as a talent AI profile. Anybody can use Imagen to edit their photos and have the photos edited like John. And it really is amazing to see, all the Imaginers in the Imagen community sharing photos, all the time. And when they share one that's with John's profile, it's very obvious when it's John's profile because it's a very unique style, right? So my question to you, John, is how did Imagen impact your life?
Oh my goodness. I mean, the amount of time it saves is kind of ridiculous. Again, for all the listeners, if you all don't know, I have 5 kids and we homeschool. So home life is busy, and whatever time I can save myself to just go hang out with them is like super helpful, especially being self-employed, because The hard thing you learn when you go self-employed, you think, I'm going to quit my 9 to 5 so I could set my own hours. It's like, well, you could set your own hours for 24 hours because there's no paid time off. Like you go on vacation, you still have to work or it doesn't get done. So being able to, and I don't mind that part. I kind of like it of being self-employed, but being able to go, oh, cool, let me go have breakfast with everyone and make myself a matcha. I stopped drinking coffee. Make myself a matcha and hang out in the morning and just, the day after the wedding and just go, here, Imagine, do the thing. And even though it finishes in like 5 minutes, which is always so impressive, I can just go take an hour or something and come back and be like, great, here it is halfway done for me already. Yeah. I mean, more than half, more like 90%. And just recheck it and export, boom, good to go.
Yeah. And we mentioned, beginning this conversation, like you've got multiple parts of your business. So you're not only are you getting more time back with the family, but it's potentially giving you more time on those other aspects. You can make another YouTube video because you're not focused on, slaying away at the computer editing this. Now you get to slay away at YouTube videos.
Yeah. You know what's cool though? Talking about AI. So I found a tool called Gling that basically is like the Imagine of video editing. Yeah. So I can take my talking head video like this and it'll just go through and boom, 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 there. Mistakes gone, everything, and it's already the jump cuts I would normally do. And it's just, it's so cool. Assistive AI is like so awesome.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I was going to throw in one more question. I'm going to do it now. You did just answer this, and I'm wondering if there's additional. So I use Descript to edit this podcast, which is also an AI tool, and also has that same feature where it can do auto edits with multiple, multi-cam edits, basically. So beyond Gling, I think was the name of it, right? Beyond that, are you using any other AI tools for your video work for your YouTube channel?
Sometimes I use Opus Clip, but I have feelings about it. It doesn't totally, I don't know if I'm doing it wrong. So basically it can take your longer form videos and then try to create shorts from it. And it'll automatically just like recrop it and find sections that it thinks is good and be like, here's a short for you that you can put on YouTube or as a reel or something. That's because and it'll do all the text and stuff and it'll add emojis and things. That's pretty much it so far.
Okay, cool. And what's your main editing app of choice for your video work?
It's mainly Final Cut because I was an Apple employee, so I had it for free. But I keep eyeing DaVinci. Everyone keeps talking about DaVinci, and I always see it come up, and I'm always like, But I've just had Final Cut for so long at this point. It works. I can use it. It's fine.
Yeah, I have Descript that I use pretty much daily for personally and for Imagine. I bought Final Cut many years ago, so I'm right there with you. Before Descript, I was 100% Final Cut. Yeah. And DaVinci is nice. I do like the fact that if I wanted to get the AI tools in DaVinci, I could just pay for it once and it's done. But yeah, it is a very fast video editor. I personally didn't find it faster than Final Cut. But I'm also not a heavy video editor. Yeah. So maybe when you get gigs and gigs of video footage to throw in, maybe there's a difference between, but yeah. And it's very different, right? I mean, Premiere is its own beast, right?
Oh my goodness.
Final Cut is sort of simpler, in my opinion, than Premiere. I think DaVinci is somewhere in between the two as far as complexity.
Yeah, I think so. Premiere always felt like Photoshop video editing. It was just like too much. Photoshop has a lot going on too. And DaVinci, it's definitely a middle ground. I just had a hard time because I tried. It's free. I was like, let me try it out. And I was just like, it's not my Final Cut.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where you got to okay, here's a video I need to make, but I need a full day to just learn the thing and, no distractions and then maybe. So
yeah.
This has been fantastic, John. I'm so glad we were able to do this. This is the last episode of season 3 as well. Yeah. So that's incredible. So thank you for helping me to wrap up this season. And we're going to be back for season 4 in February. So that's really exciting. And in the meantime, where can listeners learn more about you, connect with you, and of course see your incredible photography and your YouTube content?
Oh yeah, so you can find me everywhere online as jbivphotography.com or on Instagram or YouTube. That's my username everywhere.
JBiv.
JBiv.
So I again, so thank you so much for hopping in, for chatting with me, sharing your insights and your workflows with all the listeners. And I know there's going to be a lot of good stuff here for everybody to take away. And I'll be sure to get everything linked in the show notes for all listeners who are looking for all the info. And yeah, thank you again, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
You have been listening to the Workflows Photography Podcast. To hear more from Workflows, to learn more about our guest, and for an exclusive offer for Workflows listeners, please go to workflowspodcast.com. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.